Um, I graduated high school in 1968 in Tacoma, Washington, and I had two brothers, older brothers, half brothers, that in the home that had served. One of my brothers volunteered, and he went to Vietnam, and he was a radio operator. The other one was drafted, and he went to Germany. He was an armor. I felt it was my duty. It was a thing that we were brought up in my family to be very proud of our country and to serve her. I followed after my president, John F. Kennedy, who said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country." I believed that. So I signed up for the United States Army. My father was a pastor of a church. My mother was a licensed practical nurse. And they brought us all up to give service to man, woman, and child. I didn't want to fight and hurt or kill anybody, and I wanted to help people, so I signed up to be a medic. I went to Vietnam. They shipped me off to Vietnam, and the first division I served in was the 9th Infantry Division down in the Delta. And then they transferred me to the 1st Cav, and I finished up my term there in 1970. And then they shipped me back home. I got my 30-day leave, and then they shipped me to Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Now understand, being born and raised in Washington, it was a progressive state, meaning racial-wise. There was not the discrimination and the racial problems the South was having. But when they sent me to South Carolina, I ran into a lot of problems. Problems to the place where I really felt I was going to hurt somebody. Keeping in mind, I just came back from Vietnam, so I had a combat mindset. And so I asked to be transferred to go any place, get out of the South. They said there was no place available except to go back to Vietnam. I chose to go back to Vietnam than to stay in the South. So in Vietnam, I knew who I was. I knew what my role was. I was honored and respected as a medic. And down there, I just ran into too many problems, and I left. I went back to Vietnam, and I served with the 101st Airborne up in Quang Tri. That was on the DMZ. Vietnam was a jungle country, and they have in some areas what was called triple canopy jungles. That's a jungle on top of a jungle on top of a jungle. And so in order to help us be able to negotiate through that and help us find our enemies, they decided that they were going to defoliate that jungle. So they would have aircraft that would fly over, and they would spray what was known as Agent Orange. And this defoliant would fall on the leaves and the trees and basically kill them. And so that left out a lot of places where we could see what we were getting into. But come years later, we come to find out that that was also what caused a lot of problems, health issues with veterans. I was assigned to recon in the 1st Cav, and that was quite a trip. We went out in front of the main body and we did stuff. So now and then I would get an opportunity that they would bring me in out of the field, and I would serve in the battalion aid station back on a fire base. But most of my time was out in the field as a combat medic. I finished out my tour there, and I came home to back home to Tacoma. I ended up getting married and moving to California. I got into a nursing, registered nursing program, and I completed that, and then I start working in nursing. While I was going through nursing, I was driving paramedic ambulances that helped subsidize my nursing, what I needed to get through school. I started working as a chief flight nurse on helicopters and chief flight nurse on Learjet long-range air ambulances. We flew to Canada and to Mexico, around the United States, shipping organs if needed and so forth. So it was a pretty, I was a trauma junkie. I love working in the ER. On one shift that I was working, I ran a radio call with a paramedic unit, and they had a little baby girl. And this little baby girl was in a lot of distress. They brought her to our ER, and we worked on that little girl, but we weren't able to save her life. I don't know why that incident, I had no connection to that child or the parents, but for some reason that hit me. And I have taken care of, and I've lost a lot of patients and a lot of infants and so forth. I had what I thought was I was having a heart attack. And they laid me down on the very gurney that I've laid patients on, and they worked me up. Wasn't a heart attack. They said I had a panic attack. Well, no, I didn't have no panic attack, and I denied it. They said, we're sending you to the health nurse, and you have to get cleared by her before you could come back to work. And so they sent me to the health nurse, and we talked a while and everything like this. And I said, no, I didn't have a panic attack. I did 2 tours in Vietnam as a combat medic, that I wasn't having a panic attack. She wouldn't clear me to go back to work and sent me to a psychologist. That psychologist, we worked it up for a while. He ended up sending me to the VA. I didn't want to go to the VA. The VA, to me, I didn't understand the system. I thought it was still part of the United States Army. So I did not want to go. I resisted. But eventually, if I wanted to go back to work, I had to go to the VA and get cleared by the VA. So it came to the point where they decided and said, we are taking you out of all health fields. Any field that I would work in that had human involvement, that there was a chance of failure. They said basically what happened is I never left Vietnam. I never left the fields of Vietnam. I was a combat medic in Vietnam, and I came home and I went into the emergency room, and that eventually caught up to me. I finally got into the VA system, and that started out, of course, they start you out with primary care, and that doctor would work you up with labs and x-ray and whatever you needed. And if you had any special issues, they would refer you to a specialist. Well, I had a urologist that they sent me to over in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, at the Alvin C. York campus. And Dr. Mobley, that's his name, he started taking care of me. And every 6 months I would go in and he would pull labs to do my prostate-specific antigen test, which is also known as PSA.
I met him back in 2012. He's one of the most interesting patients that it is, and he's very, very, very intelligent, very well spoken, and he's tough as nails too.
On one of those exams, he felt changes in my prostate, and he said, well, I'm going to send you in, and your PSA is rising. that is an indicator that there is the possibility of prostate cancer growing.
He had a particularly aggressive prostate cancer. And a lot of other people were telling him that you're not going to be around that long because of where it's at. And it's more than likely, you know, it'll be a short term and you're going to suffer and you're going to die. He said, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm going to keep on fighting.
When they did my CAT scan, they found out that it had already jumped out of my prostate and it was now, had a spot on my 7th left rib. So that took away a lot of options from me of being able, how are we going to proceed and deal with this prostate cancer? Because now that prostate cancer is now bone cancer. So they sent me to an oncologist here in Nashville, Tennessee, Dr. Ansel. She's been my only oncologist since I've been diagnosed.
Mr. Jackson was diagnosed with prostate cancer quite a few years ago. We've been following with him here in the clinic since that time. He's been through quite a list of treatments over that time course, and has done pretty well with each treatment that he's received.
She mentioned that she would like to consider chemotherapy. I said no, I wouldn't take that. My father had prostate cancer and he died a very horrible and painful death. My older brother Marvin, he got prostate cancer. He was sprayed with Agent Orange in Vietnam like I was sprayed with Agent Orange in Vietnam, or came in contact with it, going through the jungle, and it would brush off on us and so forth. We would actually have it orange on our uniforms. So my brother also died of prostate cancer, and he also had a very, very hard death, painful death. My urologist told me, he says, Doc, he says, times have changed. He says, we've learned a lot from those days. He said, I'm not going to let that happen to you.
Doc is someone who's taken his own health care into his own hands, which I think is very important. And he would come by every time he got a scan to go over the results. And then when he found out that his disease process had progressed, and I let him know that it was a new treatment available, he immediately said, let me go and get more information and see if I can make this happen.
I had just seen my oncologist, and she said, let's do another CAT scan and let's see where things are. It came back and it showed I had numerous 15, 20, 25 lesions / tumors all through my body, from head all the way down to my femur. It was in my sternum, bilateral ribs. It was in my jaw. It went down my spine, all the way through my spine, into my hips. And so I was a mess. My x-ray lit up like a Christmas tree. Dr. Bradshaw took me into his office, and he showed me the films, and he said, you know, there's a new drug out right now, and it's showing a lot of remarkable possibilities.
You know, like I said, we've been looking at his scans year after year on bone scans. And then I noticed that one day that there were more lesions, so the disease process had progressed. And I said, hey, go get this treatment. And so he got the treatment, and I've been waiting. I was like, I haven't seen Doc in a minute. So he comes back after completing the 6 cycles, and I pull the images up, and it's almost clear.
It uploaded, and I'm sitting next to him, and he jumps up, and he runs to the door, scares me. What the heck? And he says, do you see that? And what's going on? He said, don't play with me. He said, do you see that? So I looked at the screen. I'm looking at the one on the left, and it has all the spots on it. And the one on the right, there's nothing on it. There's not one spot, not one lesion or anything. And then it hit me that they were all gone.
That's why we do this, because it's a great treatment and it's a great option. And so it's nothing like seeing someone who goes from a little bit down and out, because as you can tell, Doc's a very outgoing individual, but as his disease progressed, you could see it take a toll on his life. And to see him walk around now, that's why we do what we do.
Cancer is a very scary word, but it doesn't scare him, because whatever he's got to go through in order to fight it and defeat it, he's willing. And hopefully there are other people that will benefit from the fact that he's indefatigable. He's like the Energizer Bunny.
He's a great guy. I really enjoy seeing him. We've developed almost a friendship over this time frame that I've been seeing him, and I always look forward to the days that I get to see him, because I can hear what's going on in his life and what's going on with his family, and then of course we review all of his medical issues as well. But we get to really enjoy spending time together during our visits.
Yeah, so I am very proud that I got to be part of his dental treatment. We've really formed like a relationship, and that's really the best part of my job is getting to know the veteran and seeing what their journey is from the mouth all the way through the rest of the body. It's all interconnected. So I'm so proud to be part of his journey and to get to see where he is now and how well he's doing. He's been a great story.
Now, I hope he lives. I told him I was going to put him on the list to be one of my pallbearers. And I hope he lives forever, because he's not just a soldier, he's a good man. I see him as a great man.
I just want to help other people. I miss nursing. It was something that I was good at. I enjoyed doing it. When they told me I couldn't do it anymore, I laid on the couch for months. I had a brand new baby boy, and he and I would lay on the couch and watch cartoons. And now I'm just trying to live the best life that I can. I want to be as helpful to other people that I can, and I just want to live a good, godly life.